Hi, I'm Havilah Cunnington. I want to ask you a question. Are you sick of trying to pinpoint your personal calling or your true purpose? I understand this frustration. In fact, I've spent 20 years researching this idea of purpose and calling. And even at the age of 18, I remember trying to figure out what this actually meant. And now I'm almost 40 and I've spent these last 20 years trying to figure it out. And I came to a really intense point in my life. I remember about 6 years ago, we had our last child. We have 4 boys. And they're little. They were like 5, 4, 2, and 3 months. And when we had our 3-month-old, we actually lost our job. And this job we had had for 15 years. We had been at this specific church. We were pastors at this church, and we lost our job. And here we were in this place where we had too many kids to lose our job. We had too many bills to lose our job. We had too little sleep to lose our job. And here we are. We are at a place where we have lost all that we once knew, all that we once were used to. And I came to a point in my world where I had to figure out what was happening, because everything that I was doing and was used to and as what people saw me as was now over. And I had to understand, how could I still be Havilah, still be myself in the midst of not doing what I was used to doing or what people saw me as? And I began to wrestle with this idea of true calling and true purpose. We think we all come to this point in our life where life changes. We're no longer the cutest, smartest, greatest, smartest, I already say that, person in the room. We're just somebody who's trying to wrestle with their calling and purpose. So I want to give you a thought first, and this is kind of a bonus tip. Those of you that are watching this, I'm really glad you're catching this live, because you're the first ones that are going to hear this. But the first thing I really recommend of all things that you do is you figure out a little more about your personality. You figure out how God made you, because often we compare ourselves with other people when we kind of overvalue what somebody else has, and we have a tendency to undervalue what we have. So it's very important to figure out what is our maybe gift or grace on our life. One way you can do that is to simply ask the person closest to you, what is that one thing that you go to me for? What's that one specific thing that you see me, it's funny, we go, well, what is it that I have on my life? Well, what do people call you for? What do they text you for? What do they want to know from you? That's what you need to figure out. But I want to define a few thoughts about purpose and clarity first. The first thing I really want to recommend, I guess, in this whole process, because I went through a major life crisis. I mean, I went from this young, 25-year-old, just had all the income I wanted, had all the opportunity, had all the energy, to then being a mom of 4 kids, exhausted, trying to kind of figure out my life. And my purpose was changing around a lot. And I had to come to grips with a few thoughts. The first one is the difference between value and effectiveness. This is very important. I've taught this before, but I cannot teach this enough, because our whole world gets this wrong, specifically in America. Your value never changes. The reason your value doesn't change is because the price something was paid for determines the value of something. If no one pays for it, it doesn't matter how valuable it is. If no one wants to spend any money on it, then the value is nothing. But if someone pays a high amount, then the value is something. Well, your life, according to the Bible and according to God's plan for your life was paid for with the highest price. God's only Son died on a cross to pay for your life, to be with Him forever. So the value of your life is never going to change, whether you do amazing things for God or whether you do nothing for God and you just live as a son or daughter of His. Your value is set because you're His kid. Your value is in your name. Your value is in your DNA. Your value is in who you were in the beginning when no one saw what you had to give. That's your value. But your effectiveness does change. That's why us reading the books we do, or the conferences we attend, or maybe the courses that we take and the way that we teach and train is not to become more valuable. We don't go to church to become more valuable. We don't try to become, I'm an author and a speaker and I travel and I do all these great things. That's not about my value. That's about my effectiveness. I want to be effective in my life. So I'm growing it. My value will never change. My effectiveness can ebb and flow depending on my choices and my personal plan, the way that I choose to live my life. And whatever's important to me, my choices and my values will wrap around those things, and it doesn't really matter what you say you believe. Your choices will show me what you really believe. That's just the truth. So your value and your effectiveness is very important. And we have to understand that no matter if I'm on a stage preaching to thousands or if I'm in the bathroom cleaning up someone's mess, my value hasn't changed. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm still a daughter of God, and that's who I am. Whether I am doing something effectively or not, it doesn't really matter. The second thing I want you to really talk or really think about when it comes to who you are and clarity about your true purpose is the difference between purpose and progress. This is very important. We get this wrong, and I hope that you understand this. So there's a difference. We all experience pain when it comes to purpose. There's this part of us that goes, oh, I want to be all I'm called to be. That's really normal. Your desire for influence, for value, for, I don't know if value is the right word because we just talked about that, but your desire for effectiveness is important, but you have to ask yourself, where is the pain of my purpose coming from? Is the pain coming from the fact that I don't know my true identity and my true purpose? Is that where your pain is coming from? Is it coming from a low self-esteem, a low regard, maybe habits of feeling insecure or vulnerable to what people think about you? If that's where that is, then that's pain in your purpose. But then there's another type of pain, and that pain is not in your purpose, it's in your progress. Sometimes we have pain because we know we can be living up to something that we're not. We're just not living up to our potential. So our pain is connected to our potential. So some of us go, well, I think it's about my identity. But the truth is, you know you're a daughter or a son of God. You know you have value, but you know you're not living up to your potential. And that's where your pain hits home. And if that's you, I want you just to say, that's me. In fact, you can type it in the comments. That's me. I understand that, and that's what I'm figuring out. It's purpose or progress. The third point I really want you to think about is calling versus assignment. Calling versus assignment. So this is very, very important. I learned this a couple years ago, and it changed my whole life. And that is, there's a difference between your calling, who you're called to be on the earth, you becoming you and fully formed in who God's called you to be on this earth, your gifts, graces, and talents being given to the earth. But your assignment can change. So me being a daughter of God, me being a woman of God, me being a woman of the word, me having value and me having clarity and me having anointing in my life is going to be the same wherever I go. But my assignment can and will change. This is how we get so messed up as believers, as leaders, as women and men. We get messed up on this because we assume that our calling is linked to our assignment. And when the assignment is taken away, then our calling is taken away. And that's where we get in danger, because often we will have identity crisis when we're no longer the cutest, greatest, smartest, the title of whatever it is. And I remember feeling that way. I'm not on staff anymore. I'm not a pastor like I was. I'm not over here doing this. I'm in limbo. I don't know. And the truth was, I got to be a powerful woman wherever I was, because that's who I was. That's my calling. It's not my assignment. And when we look at our job and what we're doing and our purpose as assignments, we can relax. In fact, me being a mom, yeah, that's an assignment, but it's my calling is to be a woman that comes authentically as a daughter of God, as somebody full of faith and hope into every situation. That's my calling, and that will look differently in each situation. Now, some of you, I got to stop you. Some of you are watching this right now and you're thinking like, oh my gosh, my friends need to hear this. Would you do me a favor? Would you share this on your wall right now and invite them to listen in? Because if you don't, they might miss it. And if you're not comfortable sharing it, then just tag their name underneath. I totally get it. Tag their name underneath so that they don't miss this. This is really going to help a lot of people. So I want us to review for a few points. The first one is, remember the difference between value and effectiveness. Value and effectiveness, two different things. One never changes. One does change depending on how much you invest. Second thing is your purpose versus your progress. Your purpose is your identity, who God's called you and sees you as. And your progress is how you are building your potential towards who you are. Thirdly is your calling versus your assignment. Your calling is who you're going to be. It is connected to your purpose. It's who you're going to be in any environment. Wherever you are, that's who you are, right? That favor. But it's not connected to your assignment. Your assignment will come and go, and your assignment changing doesn't change your value. It just says it's a different season for you. Okay, fourth is this: all growth starts at baseline. This is the basic process of growth in our lives. And this should free you up. Like, this should give you that moment of grace, because lean in, this is important. Everybody who has done anything with their life, anyone who's had amazing impact with their life, anyone who's been on their deathbed and know that they've lived their life to the fullest, they had to start out at baseline. They had to start out at ground zero. They did not come fully formed. They may have been a little gifted. They may have been a little cuter. They may have had some kind of skill. But the truth is, they had to steward that in a way that pulled their potential out. So I just want to kind of decode that idea. I think sometimes we can belittle someone else's strengths or who they are because it makes us feel better in our complacency or us being lazy about our own potential. But the truth is, and I've said it before, leaders aren't better, greater, stronger, cuter, more anointed. Leaders are just those that outlast the crowd. And are you going to outlast the crowd? I think it's the same way. Great moms, great dads, great leaders, great bosses, great grandparents. They're not the ones that do everything right, but they're the ones that don't give up. They keep going forward with whatever's in front of them, and they keep pressing in. And you need to be a pit bull with some lipstick on and hold on to that, because you're going to get that. So all growth starts at baseline. You know, sometimes we can be an expert in one area and be a beginner at another, and that doesn't mean you're bad. That means you're learning. I can be an expert in my prayer life, but I can be a beginner in the word. Or I can be an expert in leading people, but I can be a beginner at serving people. And so I've got to learn how to grow those muscles in my life, and there's nothing wrong with starting out from scratch. Fifth is this, and this is my last point. Calling is much more about a journey than a destination. This is so important. Could you imagine if parenting was all about giving birth and that was your parenting? Like, hey, how's your parenting? Well, I gave birth. It was 5 hours and I got a C-section and it was over. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. No. Parenting, the birth is just the beginning of the full life calling of raising those little rugrats, right? Well, that's how life is. That's how real life is. Our calling, our purpose is not about a one-time event, a one-time moment. It really is a journey. And I would even go so far as to say that having an event in our life can bring a sense of joy, but only living an adventure can actually build fulfillment, deep fulfillment. When we start to embrace the journey and not just live for the moment, we actually begin to have this deep peace that we reside in and going, hey, this is who I'm called to be, and it's perfect. And it's not perfect, but it's peaceful, and it creates in you a peace. So I really want us to understand that some of you are like, I'm living for that moment when I have that, like, I'm New York Times bestseller, or all my kids have finished college, or I've, have enough money in the bank to retire. Okay, stop. That's great, but that's an event, but that's never going to feel fulfilling like living in your true purpose every single day, which is living in the fullness of the day. And we talked a little bit about that. Some of you that caught on at the beginning of this, you guys got that bonus point, and those of you that are just hopping on, you're going to want to go all the way back when we're done with this. Make sure you catch that bonus point. I want to say this. Some of you guys you're starting September and you're starting the fall, and you know that life is going to start getting in that rhythm. And some of you are like, Havilah, I've got purpose and calling, or I think I know what it is, but I really could use some help. Well, I guess we've prepared something for you. It's a free gift. It's in the headline of this video, and it's a free spiritual assessment. I like to call it a spa. It's your spa day, and it's your spiritual pathway assessment. And all it is a few questions that you answer honestly, and whatever answers you have, it will lead you to what we recommend over at Truth to Table, your spiritual pathway, the thing we think you need in your life. Now, if it's not for you and you look at it and you go, this wasn't really for me, then don't worry about it. Don't just ignore it. We don't want you to do anything else. But if you think like, yeah, this makes me hungry for more, one thing that I'm really passionate about is pulling apart complicated truths, things that seem overwhelming, and giving you bite-sized pieces so that you can digest it and not just eat well, but live well. Like sit at my kitchen table and actually eat some good food so you can go home and feed your own family, and that's my goal. So again, I want to review this really quickly, and that is value versus effectiveness, purpose versus progress, calling versus assignment, all growth starts at baseline, and lastly, calling is more about a journey than a destination. If this spoke to you, don't forget to leave me a comment. In the next couple hours, I will read every comment that you ask. Any questions you have, I would love to answer them. I'll spend some time answering them tonight. So please leave a comment. Please leave me what you thought, and it will mean a lot, and I'll make sure and read all of those comments. Again, don't forget to take the assessment at the top of this page. And for those of you that just came on, go to the beginning of this and you can catch that bonus point. I love you guys. And this is the second installment of our Facebook Live mini masterclass, which is the top 5 things that people want in their spiritual life but can't seem to get. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about another one of those points that we all desperately want to have in our life. So stay with me. Bye.